Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. I'm your host, Zach Hang. I got Professor Dreg with me. Thank you so much for coming back, checking out the show. Yeah, guys, this is amazing that, we've been able to keep this up for as long as we have. It's only really been about a month and a half, but we are close to 50 episodes in, and we're not stopping anytime soon. And, in light of a lot of YouTube censorship, people being checked out of the political sphere to kind of embark on other things, I wouldn't say that I'm completely checked out, but I have slowed down my YouTube a little bit because I do want to focus on this podcast, and I want to focus on making money, which is important. I've got some goals to move out of Tempe to go to Scottsdale in the next few months, just to update you loyal listeners on my life right now. And I'm working with Professor Dreg on some big stuff in the near future once we get the flow of this show up and running. But the thing I want to get into in more detail today is the health benefits, right? Open borders. I know that we've touched on this several times on the show, but in recent news here, there's a lot of Democrat lawmakers in California that have actually agreed to extend health coverage and health insurance and benefits to qualifying illegal immigrants residing in the state. Now, this is an interesting thing because my first thought is, after we've talked about everything that we've talked about, is number one, the fact that you have to get proper identification and proper, proof of residency, proof of employment, proof of ID to get a job. But you don't have to do any of that to get free health care. And sometimes, and here's the thing, here's where the thought comes in. People sometimes get jobs just for the health insurance, right? But here's the kicker. Illegal immigrants can get health coverage without showing either. Rather ironic, don't you think?
That's insane. That is totally insane. That makes no sense. That's I don't want to say suicide, but that's how a society destroys itself.
That's what I'm saying. I used to be, for those of you who don't know, a human resources generalist, my old job, right? And the first thing you do is you got to verify employment eligibility, and you got to verify identification. That's to get a job. To get a job in the United States, you got to do that. Now, you don't have to be of the United States to be able to get a job, but you got to have proper documentation. And if there's one thing I'm sure about is that a lot of people get into jobs because of the benefits, right? It's not just because you're getting paid a wage, you're getting paid, for your training and all that, but think about it, right, Professor Dreg? A lot of people, instead of paying $600 health premiums for people, I know we've already talked about insurance, but just for the consistency of this, of what we're talking about here, people will pay $400 to $600 for a family plan, right, without employment. And illegal immigrants can go out and actually qualify for California's Medicaid problem and take advantage of that, and it clocks in at around $200 to $500 billion every single year, just in that alone.
Well, okay,
Crazy.
so that's totally crazy. That's just, like I can't wrap my head around the stupidity. It really, because somebody really thought about this hard and goes, you know what we should do? Let's just give away free health benefits to people who come in here illegally, who break the law, blah, blah, blah. All these things, for whatever reasons, why people come to this country illegally.
Yep.
But it's all bogus. Like, if you ever travel, and I know you've traveled, you've seen China,
yeah,
and other places. But my point is this: just going to other places, it's not that bad in other countries. Just because the United States is, for lack of a good term, the best country on the planet doesn't mean that everybody has a right to this type of lifestyle. And the thing is like this. It is fake to believe everybody in another country is coming here because their life is in jeopardy. It's fake. There is no sense. So even if their life was in jeopardy, what does that have to do with them being able to see a doctor? Seriously, why can't they see a doctor in their neighborhood? Back in their country. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. There's a difference from having your life threatened in another country and not seeing a doctor in that country. Yeah. One has nothing to do with the other. So if you're coming here illegally, it makes no sense that they get benefits, because it has nothing to do, and I mean nothing to do with why they're coming here, in theory.
Yeah, because
right.
It's not like you're just showing up because you want to get free health care. You could get that in your own country.
Yeah, in theory. I mean, even if they can't get it for free, they are not being denied access to health care in their country. And that's, so are they coming here for the benefits, or are they coming here because their life is in danger? So let's just say they're coming here for the free benefits. So then it becomes a question, and in my mind, what would Jesus do? No, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? Because, and this is like not a fascinating thing for me, but, do you know who Tim Pool is?
Of course. I was, we're rolling similar circles. He's that guy with the beanie.
Yeah.
Free speech advocate.
Oh, excuse me. So here's the thing about Tim Pool. Tim Pool doesn't really know the political spectrum. He believes that anarchists are far left. This is what he believes. And because he really doesn't know any better. So when he was young, like myself, he was an anarchist. He was a skateboarder. He, whatever, which is probably why he wears the beanie, because a lot of skateboarders wear beanies. This is how it was. I mean,
no, you're right. You were a beanie, so.
Yeah, no, but okay. But my boy, Corey O'Brien, he was one of the original famous skateboarders from back in the day. Corey still wears a beanie to this day. And he's like 56, 55. So, you know what I mean? But anyway, so Tim Pool was saying that he was a far left anarchist, no government. And we spoke about this before. People who believe anarchists, who believe in no government, being far left, honestly do not know the political spectrum, because no government is far right. It is because the right believes in less government. The extreme right believes in absolutely no government.
No government, yeah.
And it was an interesting story that he was saying, like, he like myself, he was an anarchist. The music that they listened to, the media they listened to was all anarchy, no government. But part of being an anarchist was not believing in Jesus, like just hating Jesus. But he went into this one dude's house and he saw a poster and he had a picture of Jesus. And then Tim Pool goes, "Dude, you're a Christian? Why are you a Christian?" And it was dogging him. Automatically started dogging him for having a poster of Jesus on the wall. It wasn't even like it was a real poster. And then the guy goes, "Nah, I'm not a Christian, but I have him up on my wall because, think about it. It's just a story of a man who just walked around helping people."
Yeah.
And then that's what made, and having that conversation with that dude with the picture of Jesus on the wall made Tim Pool realize that complete anarchy was wrong. So he went from extreme, in his mind, far left to center left. But anyway, that said, that's just an example of how people with influence and, in theory, quote unquote knowledge, really don't know anything. They travel the world and they have no idea what they're looking at. They just don't. So how does this apply to, and that's why I'm saying, what would Jesus do? Seriously, like, this is a real what would Jesus do moment. And I am convinced Jesus would not give free health care to these criminals. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're honestly coming to this country seeking asylum because you are going to be murdered, that is a big difference. But these people are not coming here because they're going to be murdered in their other country. And that's the reality. These people from Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, it don't matter where they're coming from. They are not coming here because they're going to be killed. I know people who have been killed or their children have been killed. You know, like I told you that story of the EB5 story.
Absolutely.
How, the sole distributor of a major shoe product, his son was murdered after he paid ransom. And even then, he still had to spend $6-7 million to get into this country. That was messed up, but hey, that's how it works.
Right.
So, on that note, that's not a, Jesus wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have. He would have said, hey, look, you know what? Your family's in real, danger. You do well for the community and they still killed your kids. Come on in. He would have done that. But in this instance, Jesus would say no. And I'll tell you why, because it goes against everything that we have spoken about economics. See, because the thing is, the reason why people go from anarchists to, some sort of like, we need capitalism, but it has to have limits. That limits is set by Christianity. Jesus, I believe this. He really was a multi-level marketer. He believed in that.
I love that. It blows my mind.
True. But think about every time you have multi-level marketing, right? It's the guy at the top is always, he's going to make the most. But then at the same time, because of how he set things up, everybody will do well. Even at the bottom of that pyramid, he will do well. That's why trickle down economics actually works. But here's the thing. It only works when everybody is an individual and not a big you can't be this multi-international company. Because it just will not work. But if everybody's able to maintain their individual, sovereignty or operate as an individual, as an independent business person and use a franchise model, and we spoke about this.
Sure.
That's how do we stop people from exploiting other people in other countries? How do we stop, I'm going to say Nike because it's the only thing I could think of. How do we stop Nike from taking advantage of Chinese workers in China? Well, because we set up a franchise system. If you want to sell Nikes, instead of having them buy quote unquote Nike,
have the Chinese set up their own subsidiary under you and manufacture.
Yeah, just set up a franchise. You know what? Then you will franchise out, and then you will pay us a flat rate of.
And therefore, you're also not evading taxes as ridiculously, right? So this is actually satisfactory for the left because they're always like, get them to pay their taxes. It's like this is the way to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is too,
build economies up. Yeah,
exactly. No, and here's the thing. I believe in tariffs. I really do. And because tariffs it's an equalizer. So here's the thing. If you want to buy, because look, everybody knows if you're going to buy Chinese Nikes, Nikes made in China, it should be cheaper. Why? because it costs way low. If you want to buy Nikes in Brazil or from Mexico, it's going to be cheaper. So
go ahead. No, I want to hear.
But here's the thing. Okay, so in this franchising model, you can only buy Nike shoes in America that are made in America. Same thing in Japan. If you buy Nikes in Japan, you have to buy it made in Japan. But if you want to buy something that is made in America or made from China and you live in America, you have to pay a tax on that shoe to make it just as expensive as a shoe that is made in America. So that way it stops people from exploiting the labor of other countries. It's the only way it's going to work. So tariffs are actually needed. We're not stopping people from buying Japanese shoes or Chinese shoes, but we want to make sure that it is not done at the expense of other people. But it will never work because the lobbyists.
Yeah, and so how does that pertain to the free healthcare California?
Okay, now here's the thing, and this is why in the franchise model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you talk about it, you worked HR. One of the benefits of working, and it's a cheap benefit, is to provide health care.
Sure. Sure.
And it's real cheap. It's not expensive. You know, like in the old days, I don't know how it is now, but in the old days, when I say old days, it's not even that old. It's like the 80s and the 90s. You know, a health benefit, you have like 100 employees, 50 employees, 100 employees. But my employer, they had thousands of people. So I could be wrong because the numbers were, because where I worked at, there were so many employees, you know, the health benefits were dirt cheap. Like when I was working for a big giant company, we paid zero down payment, zero co-payment, zero co-payment on meds. Everything was free because of our benefit plan. And the reason why the health benefit plans was so cheap for our employer was because there was so many of us. So basically for like $100 a month, we had, everything was free. But then again, they had like 15,000 employees. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So with 15,000, I guess, you know, the health company, because it was you know, the difference between HMO and
I was actually gonna ask you about that, because that actually affects the pricing and the amount of choice that you have. I used to distribute those things, right?
So well, not we, but my employer opted for Kaiser. And because of the setup of Kaiser, it's not like, you know, because Kaiser, they're also, not only do they, you know, sell insurance, but, you know, that insurance goes directly to them. So that's actually cheaper way to operate a business. It's not like the way Aetna or Blue Shield has it, because Blue Shield is not a hospital. You know, they don't provide, so they're a middleman. So it's, to buy insurance through them is more costly. But so the way Kaiser set up, anyway, so those are the differences. So there are some providers who honestly, but anyway, so that's why if you go with a company like that, blah, 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 blah. But the cost for the employer is really cheap.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive when you do it the way, well, even Blue, I'm not trying to knock Blue Shield, but if you do it the way Kaiser does it, like let the hospitals provide their own insurance, then it's going to be way cheaper. Those are business models that actually work. But, you know, anybody could do whatever they want. But see, now here's the thing. Other countries need to learn the economy, the economics. And I'm not an economist. So this is basic, simple math. Any person with a 4th grade math aptitude can figure this out. This isn't complicated stuff. Because I hate to hear people say, oh, I'm not an economist. You don't need to be an economist to know how to work a ratio. You know, you just have to have basic common sense. But anyway, so long story short, if we allow countries to, instead of being ran by a big like Coca-Cola can easily franchise the way McDonald's franchise out. Same thing with Nike, big clothing companies. They could franchise out real easily and allow other countries to do what we do in health benefits. Because a lot of people believe this, oh, your employer should not provide health benefits. They should just give you the money. Yeah, but you know what? In reality, well, back in the 80s and 90s, those health benefits were only $200. So if you break it down per hour, it's literally pennies per hour. And so, but it's just like a cool perk, you know, just to have. But anyway, so going back to these health benefits, giving away free health benefits only makes it worse in those countries. Giving away free health benefits only makes it worse for anybody to have an incentive to go up against a big corporation like Coca-Cola, like any automaker, like any, because come on, you cannot compete against Exxon Oil. If you're a Mexican dude, even like my boy, who's a billionaire, even
absolutely,
he can't compete with someone like that. Why? Because it's going to cost a whole lot of money to try to find oil, and he's going to run out of that money before he can make any money. So why? Because he can't compete with people who have, you know, like trillions of dollars of assets, and they don't have to pay, and they're exploiting the labor. because, a billionaire could easily exploit labor, but he cannot compete for long. It's just how it works. It's just like in Vegas. I could open up a club in Vegas, be successful, but eventually, after they catch on what I'm doing, all they got to do is steal my model, my concept, and crush me because they could outdo me, and they will outdo me because do that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to kind of illustrate how it actually doesn't favor anyone. One thing I wanted to actually mention that now actually makes it even worse for the United States is, guess who's actually being taxed more so for the people who are coming into this country, illegal immigrants, and getting coverage, right? Now, you would think, this is the kicker here, you would think it's just regular Americans and taxpayers who are obviously already paying taxes. They have jobs. Maybe what socialists will say is, we're going to tax the wealthy, or we're going to tax the haves in order to give to the have-nots. But listen to this. This is where you're going to really lose your hair, because remember when people had penalties instilled on them when they didn't have health coverage? Do you know who's the prime target for being taxed for not having health coverage? Those people who are in America, who are citizens, who can't get coverage for whatever reason. So isn't it ironic that you are actually taxing people because of the penalty that they don't opt in for socialized medicine, socialized healthcare, and giving it to illegal immigrants? It's worse than
crazy.
That. You are actually replacing your big voting bloc, your big American so-called working class, with illegal immigrants. Because here's the thing. Part of the reason why a lot of people aren't covered, I mean, employment is good, right? But it's expensive, number one. But also
it's
because
expensive now.
Yeah. But also because, not every job is going to offer health coverage. It's just the fact. It's a huge cost for employers, especially with government healthcare, socialized medicine. They have no choice but to raise their prices, because now you've made it nationwide. No pun intended, because nationwide's an insurance.
Yeah, I know.
And they're not always on your side, which is even more ironic. But you see what I'm saying? It's very ironic. And that's why I wanted to bring that to light, because it's so easy to think, man, these people are just running away from war-torn countries. Really?
But they're not.
But they're not. Something else is drawing them here.
No, but it's the truth, because part of my old job used to be, negotiating with foreign leaders. Yeah. And was it on the down low? I honestly, I don't know, because I really don't know the politics behind it. The only thing I know is I'd get a call and I'd go. And I talk to these, I treat them like anybody else, and then we negotiate. Just like I just toss ideas to them, like the same way we toss ideas. I toss out ideas, and we try to make up some kind of plan to make it work. Yeah. And so so I really don't know the politics behind why I got these calls. But the thing is like this: these war-torn countries, nobody is. Like, okay, because I want it, because I get it. I know people are dying, but it's not like the way people make it out. Oh, okay, so I'll give an example. If you watch what happened to Milo Yiannopoulos, right? Was it Milo?
Yeah.
When he was attacked at Berkeley?
Yep.
Okay, so he wasn't allowed to speak. So if you watch that and that's all you watch, people from other countries would think, oh my God, the United States is crazy, because whenever people are trying to talk, people are getting killed, they're burning down buildings, blah, 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 blah. And that's what people think is happening in the Middle East. Because people don't understand why, because I think we're in agreement with this. I don't believe the United States should be meddling in other countries' affairs. Mm-hmm. It's just what I believe. Why? And people will, oh, that's a far left ideology. No, it's not. I don't believe in war. I don't believe in violence. I believe in kicking ass, but I just don't believe it. I just, why
give
do
me your money?
Yeah, no, I was like, bitch, you owe me. No, but it's the truth. It's I just don't believe in it. I just don't believe in killing. There's something wrong with that. So not to sound all like, oh, this crazy Christian guy or anything like that. But the thing is, there's something inherently wrong with killing other people. And when the United States gets involved in other countries, we are literally picking and choosing winners. And that's not our job. Our job is not to be a judge. I believe it's, and I'm not using the Bible to justify it, but if that has been established since the beginning of known recording of man's history, which is the Bible, come on, how wrong can it be to not judge other people? And so that's one of the main reasons why we can't do it, because I've been to these other countries, I've spoken to these people, and look, they just want to figure out a way to get their people money. That's it. And the thing is, and I don't want to use any examples because I just, because of what's happening in other countries, but this one country in Africa in particular, they have a gold mine in resources, and they have to figure out how to get these farmers, how to make money, how to get them health benefits, so they could see a doctor on a regular basis, because, in this one country, just basic food and basic nutrients will get these people, just going like anybody else. But because they're competing against big giant pharmaceuticals. See, because this is the thing that people don't get, and I'm pretty sure that you can guess the country just by what I'm explaining. But for example, in pharmaceuticals, one of the biggest ingredients in all pills is gum. Like chewing gum.
Yeah.
And the thing is like this. When you allow all of these big multinational corporations to get into these countries in the Middle East, and they control an entire industry, which is gum, and they don't have to pay health benefits. They don't have to do anything. And what happens? Well, wars literally start because of these corporations not paying their people enough. And then, and then the government gets mad when a kickback doesn't come in. And because this is why it happens. It happens because these leaders take kickbacks, and then these kickbacks aren't enough to satisfy whatever promises they made. And then people, they go crazy, and then they kill each other over shoes. And it's crazy what they do. Because, I'm not kidding you. You can see in these countries somebody getting killed over their shoes, and then, somebody's, sitting down, just sipping his, those hardcore, I don't know if you know anything about African coffees, but, they're just sipping their coffees like if it's nothing's going on right next to them.
Yeah, and people getting killed.
It's kind of like here living in San Francisco. I'm not kidding you. Last night, there was this bum. He looked like he was a little retarded, big ass dude. And it kind of makes me sad, because every time I see a black dude, I just fuck, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, I just want to help him. But it's like, you probably did it to yourself, But anyway, it's neither here nor there. But, but he was there, laying, just sitting, not sitting. He was laying down on the street, rubbing his belly and his chest, just like a weird drug trip for 8 hours. Because I walked by, moved my car for something. I went to the store, a few hours later to get some ice cream because it was hot as hell. And anyway, so look, I'm guilty of it too. I don't walk past violent scenes, because I'll stop. If I see violence, I'll stop it. But, I walked over this homeless dude. You know what I mean? Just looking at him, and I walked over him 3 or 4 times, But it's like that in the Middle East. People will witness violence and they just ignore it, the same way I ignore homeless people. And the thing is like this. Most people are not dying from illnesses in other countries. They're not. Right. They're not in Syria. Guess what? They're not dying because they're not getting health benefits. They're dying because the multinational or international corporations are robbing their resources and taking advantage of their labor.
Mhm.
So why in the hell would we or they need free healthcare? Why would we have to give out free healthcare when that is not the issue? The issue is they need money. They don't need health. They don't need health benefits.
What did she say?
You hear that? They said I don't have to talk so loud because I got a mic right in front of me.
Yeah, is that why you were talking a little bit closer to it? Is because they're asleep?
Yeah. Pretty much. I can't help. Anyway, so if I'm too loud, let me know. But anyway, does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely.
It makes. That's why it becomes a question, because see, this is the thing. Everybody who says this, oh, they need health benefits, and they'll say this, oh, if you're a Christian, you would really allow this to happen. It's like, hell no. If you're a Christian, you would understand that giving them free health benefits is the exact opposite of what Jesus would do. Jesus wouldn't tell somebody, oh, hey, come break the laws of another country and come get some free stuff and take advantage of people who work hard for the money. No, Jesus would honestly tell other countries, hey, look, let other people work things out themselves. That's what he would say. I don't know for sure, but in my gut, that's what tells me that's what Jesus, it's really is. What would Jesus do? And I'm not kidding you. For the rest of my life, I'm going to just do, what would Jesus do? Every time like these types of questions come up, I'd say, what would Jesus do? And in health benefits, he would say no. For all of those reasons why I explained, that's why, because look, in those countries in the Middle East, they are blessed with the ability to make gum, which is a key ingredient for almost every single product we use in the United States. I don't care if it's in medicine or in food or anything. It's an emulsifier.
Sure, yeah.
But anyway, but gum is needed for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And in that regions, they have tons of it. And guess what? Because of their greed of their leaders, they allow people like corporations to go in there, take advantage of everything, and just wreak havoc. And that's why there's war. It has nothing to do with because in reality, it really doesn't have anything to do with like, oh, they hate the Jews or they hate this or hate that. It's really is because
of greed.
Yeah, of greed. And
here's the thing. Have you ever read the book? I know you don't read books, but there's a book out there called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And it's a guy who goes into other countries and makes them indebted to the United States by setting up shop there.
Wow. See, but I told you, see, without reading that book, but that's why I laugh, because this is what I do. I do the opposite. I try to make people independent because it's the truth. Like, I honestly believe in the EB-5 program.
Yeah.
And because it's the only way. The only way to get people sovereign is to teach other people to make money.
Yeah.
And that, I'm telling you now, that's why Jesus was a multi-level marketer, because he wanted to teach other people how to make money through Christian ideology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, it's not even Christian ideology. It's the word, because even that is like, because Jesus was preaching from the books of Moses, right? I'm assuming, I don't really know, but because there was no Christian Bible when Jesus was alive.
It was his teachings. It was his gospel.
Yeah. So his words, his, and it's not that he was interpreting, because he lived with God, right? That's the theory. Mm-hmm. He saw how the universe was created. He knows the technology in the Bible. He knows everything because he saw it all. His dad made everything. So he knows it. He already knew everything. So with that kind of knowledge and wisdom, how can you not follow a dude like that? You know what I mean? So I know without a doubt, Jesus would be against the whole giving away free benefits, because it only adds to the problem and doesn't fix it. Because you have to teach these people, quote unquote, I'm assuming this is a biblical quote, but how to fish. Give a man a fish, he eats that day. Teach a man how to fish, he eats for the rest of his life. Right. Isn't that a Jesus philosophy thing? I don't know.
It kind of is, yeah.
So, and that's my point, is that is what needs to be done. These health benefits is a total and absolute made up thing to tug at people's
Heartstrings. Dude.
All it is. That is, I mean, I know it took a long time to explain it.
No, but that was a very elaborate view because it's convoluted. This is how dishonest people are. It's greed with hypocrisy with lie. I mean, it's like, how evil do you have to be to kind of see this happening, and you're in a position of power, politics, and authority, and allow it to continue to happen? Like, this is insane. This is absolutely insane, and then you do this to your veterans too.
Oh God, yeah. You know what I mean?
The people who are the pawns of your foot soldier army that go into these countries, they come home and you still take from them. You still steal from them. Like, how evil do you have to be? I mean, we talked about like what makes an ideal hero, an ideal person to patrol a community, firefighters, firemen,
Yeah.
And then you think about just individuals here, right? Like another aspect here, which is veterans. Now, again, I don't advocate for war or anything, but it's like you guys go into war zones, and it's like, I may not support killing and war and all that, but it's like, we can't even take care of those people.
No, and that's the truth. See, we can't, and we have not been able to take care of those people. We haven't. But yet somehow, some way, not only are we doing this stuff to give away free health benefits to illegal immigrants, but we want to escalate other wars. And then create the same problem, and then flood the country with more people who are now been ravished, or not ravished, but we have ravaged their hometowns, creating a bigger need,
right,
for illegal immigrants to come by, as they say, any means necessary. Now, think about that, though. We deliberately, and maybe deliberate might be a hard word, but I think it's true. We deliberately do not take care of our veterans. Yeah. Why? Because it creates this need to spend more tax dollars, to tax. Why? Well, look at our veterans. They're homeless on the streets. They're all suffering. They're all shell-shocked. And, what's shell-shocked is...
PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD. There you go. Yeah, thank you. No, because, dude, even, like, I hate the way they changed the vernacular.
That's how they do it. That's how they do it.
Yeah, no, but anyway, so my point is this. When people are shell-shocked, they're mentally ill. They can't function in a normal society. They need help. And we're not helping these people. But somehow, some way, but then guess what? People suffering from PTSD are at home. Not everybody, but a good number. And I want to say the majority, because that would mean over 51%. I don't know the exact numbers. But a lot of people suffering from PTSD need to go back to war zones. Why? Because their behavior is now appropriate.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because if any noise makes you jumping and you start swinging for the fences and you're at home, you're going to beat your wife or kill your kid on accident.
Yeah, you've been conditioned for a different type of adrenaline that's not normal for people.
Yes. So now check this out. So we have made people ready, just regular foot soldiers, just regular old people. We have made these people conditioned for combat. Now we just got to find a war. What are these wars? Well, economic wars. What do we need? We need these big giant, McDonald's is not, like, certain companies start wars. McDonald's is not one of them. McDonald's is one of those Christian companies that literally is a multi-level marketing company. They franchise out and they pay their franchise fees, and everybody in the United States McDonald's is happy. But companies like Nike, companies like Exxon, companies like that, they have a reason. Companies like Apple and Google, because here's the thing. does Google, what do they do? They're a big international company with a vested interest in exploiting other people's labor. Because now that they're making Chromebooks, and because remember in the old days when Google was just a search engine, well, now Google is trying to compete with Microsoft, and when it comes to products, you know, they're making phones, they're making, you know, like I said, the Chromebook. So they are one of those companies that go into other countries and try to dictate to these other countries how they should govern.
Right.
And guess what happens? The United States is now obligated to protect U.S. interests, even though the United States has no benefit from Google whatsoever, other than it employs people. See how tricky it is? Because these companies go into other countries, write their own laws, and then expects the United States to bail them out when they get in trouble.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, Google might not like this but why is Trump so hard on China about stealing intellectual property? You know what I mean? It's the truth.
Yeah.
So it's like the United States does not benefit beyond defense and well, okay, this is not true. Okay, so the United States benefits from technology because you know, Google may or may not help the government with, you know, GPS and mapping, tracking.
Sure. Yeah.
So there is a little bit of an interest, but for the most part, the United States has no vested interest in the success of any one company in the United States.
Right.
So when it protects intellectual property from another foreign country, in theory, because like my boy, he's smart as hell, and he has all these patents that Google uses, Apple uses, and all this other stuff. But you know, like, have you ever heard of that? I think it's Trivago. When that website, they compare all of the hotel room rates and gets you the
something like that. Expedia or
I forgot that. But my boy invented that. He invented the coding and all this other stuff. He figured out the math to make that even possible. Right. That's how smart he is. he is like, but you know why he's not so like a rich dude?
Why?
Because he's always trying to apply that technology and how to get hot chicks. Because he has it in his mind. I could tell this story real quick.
Oh man, it's always about women.
Mind, he wants to do this pool tournament or like these weird sport tournaments where it's nothing but hot chicks participating. And I'm thinking, how is that even humanly like? What does that have to do with what you're saying? Oh, it'll work. I just got it. And I'm thinking, oh my God. But anyway, in his class to do all this stuff with hot chicks, he's invented. He has the patents on a lot of tech,
right?
That makes Silicon Valley go. And but anyway, in theory, the United States is not protecting the big corporations, but protecting guys like my friends. So when they come up with something new, that they'll be able to compete in a free market. But that's not how it works. That's the theory behind it. But in reality, we are protecting Google for starting warlike, actions.
Sure. Yeah.
Companies. Because they're not making Chromebook in the United States. They're making Chromebook where, in Indonesia or some other country.
It gets manufacturing from other countries, right? And it's just...
and they exploit their labor. And guess what happens? When there's an uprising, guess who has to defend them?
American armies.
Yeah, and guess what happens? Then these countries go, for the violation of Google, now you're going to have to take 50,000 of our people and bring them to your country and pay for their benefits, and because that's the other thing too.
I see where you're going with this now. It's kind of like, well, this is all for. It's kind of like reparations. This is like for lost labor. Now you got to.
But that's what happens. What do you think happens? Like, like I saw this in the streets because I'm old enough to remember when all of the people from Vietnam came to the hood. Because it was like, how'd you guys get here? You know what I mean? Because like one day it's just nothing but blacks and Samoans and Mexicans. That made sense. Filipinos, those Filipinos and Guamanians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had everybody. But one day, I shouldn't say boatload, but for lack of a better word, a boatload of Vietnamese just showed up overnight. I mean, overnight, all of these Vietnamese people were here in the neighborhood, just flooded in. And that was from the Vietnam War.
Right.
The United States, for whatever, it wasn't even their war. It was, France had problems. And yes, somehow, some way, we were like, hey, let's just go goofing around in Vietnam too. And so, I mean, there's a practice in the United States just doing this for decades, since the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And 60s, probably. I think after World War II, there was really no other war that was necessary. So all of these other wars is just over money and protecting corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And, so what happens in today's time, we are protecting corporations like Google, Apple, all of these tech companies, Facebook, because like in Facebook, and this is why it's such crap, but I don't know why I'm picking on Indonesia, but here's the thing. In order for Facebook to survive in Indonesia, they have to out all the gay people in Indonesia. And while...
Why is that? Why is that the case?
Well, because, it's the law. You can't be gay in Indonesia. It's a Muslim country.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
so and look, for whatever it is, look, it's wrong. But, that's why Obama was raised in Indonesia. He went to Muslim school. That's why people were believing what they believed. But that's why Obama was a really, really horrible president. He was. Think about
globalist, yeah.
No, but look at how he was raised. He was raised in a country where they're making Facebook out all their gay people, and those gay people are publicly shamed and every once in a while killed in public. But at the very least, they're caned. This is what happens in Indonesia.
Yeah, I know, because I grew up in Malaysia. In Singapore, Malaysia, you get caned for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not BSing, because people are like, nah.
Yeah, no. I say this to confirm and affirm what you're saying. It's true.
Yeah, I know. No, that's why I'm glad you can confirm it, because when I tell stories, people go like, nah, dude, that's Twilight Zone stuff. And I'm like, nah,
reality.
This is real stuff. I said, and I go, how do you know? I said, because this is what happens in the streets. We just don't know it because we never asked the question why. Like, I always tripped out. Like, I didn't know there was no war in Vietnam until I asked everybody. I said, why are you here? Because this one guy, I don't want to say his name, but his name was so funny to me, because it was like, because everybody else had names like, Harold or John, Keith, whatever. But all of a sudden, there was a guy named Wee Kwok. I'm like, what? Wee Kwok, huh? That's your name, Wee Kwok? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, what the hell is that? Like, we are ducks or something. You know what I mean? But anyway, but then like the next year, all of a sudden he had an American name. So he had like an English name or something like that. But either way,
yeah.
But my point is this, going back to Facebook. See, now Facebook, instead of fighting with the U.S. government and saying, hey, like, this goes against the terms of our policy, what did they do? They just went ahead and went along with the Indonesian leadership to go ahead and kill these gay people. Why?
Mm-hmm.
To avert any wars. Because, Facebook is used in Indonesia for a lot, to get their news and a lot of media.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so
Facebook is censored in China. Do you know that? You need a firewall to get past it.
Yeah, okay, so my point is this. Facebook is making money off of the media in the Indonesian media. So in Indonesia, a lot of the, well, even in this country too, so it's all over the world. People in the press of Indonesia uses Facebook to get their word out.
Right,
That's how they sell advertising. And Facebook benefits from that. So instead of fighting and telling, Trump or in that, and this has been going on since Obama, but instead of asking Trump to step in and say, hey, look, they're abusing our platform, can you help us? They just turn the other cheek and allow it to happen. Why? Because it's Obama's home country. He's Indonesian. He believes in that stuff. He believes in the outing of gays and this and that. He can say all the things he wants, but Obama was really heavy into using drones into blowing up other people.
That's true.
Which in theory is okay, because at least you're not American lives. But at the same time, you got to go, what would Jesus do? Jesus would make you go over there and see what the hell's going on before you kill somebody in the act of war. You just don't send a robot in there and you don't know what the hell you're looking at. You know what I mean? Because you don't know. And a lot of times too, drones go out of control and you can kill innocent people. So if you're going to have to go and kill somebody in the act of war, it's better to go over there and see it for yourself in person, not some robot. But yeah, so these foreign wars creates this fake illusion that health benefits are needed. Oh, they're worn, torn, and all this other stuff. They need health benefits. Really, health benefits is going to make a healthy person better? They're not. These guys aren't even sick.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, getting health benefits is going to make their life better all of a sudden.
Right.
No, but do you see what I'm saying?
I'm starting to see it. Yeah, just the whole picture, and I'm looking at some of this stuff up just to get a broad picture. This is something that we got to dive in a little bit further, but it's all connected. It's all connected when economically countries get screwed over, and it actually creates a diaspora of people because it's like But do you see the difference from how there's refugees from all over the United States, but none from Indonesia? Why? Because Facebook, Instagram, they all cave to nobody's ever going to fight the Indonesian government. Why? Well, I mean, I don't want to say because of Obama, but Obama did have a big part of it. He said, look, this is their Muslim country, this is their beliefs, and let's not stick our nose in what's going on over there. How come why is American companies being used to out gay people? Seriously, why? And not just out them, but out them so they can be punished. Well, there's no human rights violations over there, I guess, but we interfere in a lot of places because of human rights. And what's a human right? The right to health care. Which is another lie. There is no right to health care. You have a right to eat healthy. You have a right to exercise, but you don't have a right to see a medical doctor. You just don't have a right to do that. Just like you don't have a right to an abortion. There are that's the same thing when people say healthcare should be a right. I always ask people this. Okay, if that's the case, then what about food? Is access to food a right? Right? And it's like, would you just give? Well,
it's funny because AOC literally said that. She said that owning a home was a right, food was a right. Like all of these things are a right. I'm like, no, it's not actually. Those are something you have to work for.
Yeah.
It's just no animal on this planet is guaranteed the right to food. Your
rights. Yeah, your rights are in. Okay, don't be enslaved. You're a free person. You got free speech. You got freedom to practice whatever kind of belief systems that you have. Free to make your own decisions. And from there, all of these externalities come into play as to what you would consider to be right. Are they necessities? Sure, but necessities aren't rights. Like, you got to work for necessities, And that's the thing. It's like, whenever people say healthcare should be a right, I'm like, is food a right? Are grocery stores mandated to just give you food because you say it's my right? No.
Yeah. Oh my God! But that reminds me. This is so crazy. Okay, so have you ever heard of Oberlin University?
Yeah, they have a good music program. I actually considered going there many years ago.
Oh, so they
out in Ohio, right?
lost that lawsuit This just happened. This just happened the other day. Oberlin just lost $1 million lawsuit against a bakery. And this was a really good and that totally reminds me, because okay, these 3 black kids went into, I think it's called Gibson's, like Gibson Guitar.
Yeah.
But Gibson's Bakery is like this old ass bakery that was open like in 18 something, you know, like in the slavery days, or around when slavery ended. So when things were good, right? So this bakery opened up in Ohio, and 3 black kids went in there and stole, you know, from this bakery. And the dude caught him when he went outside. The dude caught him and said, "Hey, look, man, you stole this. I want the money, or give me back the bread."
Right.
And then the black kid fought, like they got into a physical altercation because the black, "Oh man, you're stopping me because you're
man.
racist."
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying. He was saying, like, "You're stopping me because I'm racist. I didn't steal anything." But it turned out that those 3 kids, well, they weren't kids, they were adults. But
I didn't do nothing.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's what they did. They played the race card. And then when he got caught with the bread, he fought him. He literally beat him, not beat him up, but it doesn't really state who won the fight. But 3-on-1, I'm pretty sure the black kids beat the crap out of the white dude. But anyway, so Oberlin University started doing protests against this bakery, calling them racist and saying that they called the cops on them because they were black and these black kids didn't steal anything. But guess what? Those 3 black kids all pled guilty for theft and I guess battery or something like that. I don't know the specifics. But when you said, but that reminded me, you know, if food is a right, why do people get caught stealing? Seriously. And Oberlin College should know better. Like, and the college was organizing these rallies.
Yeah.
Like the teachers were getting involved and all this other stuff. And the university to this day is still not admitting guilt, but they're saying, "Oh, but the kids have a right to free speech. And we're just trying to protect their free speech." But the thing is like this, it's like yelling fire in I hate this analogy, but it's perfect for this one. You cannot, or that one story about the little boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
Cannot cry wolf. You can't. And these guys did not do anything because they were black. They stopped 3 thieves. There's a big legal difference, you know, because this school was not protecting free speech, because calling somebody a racist is not free speech. It's not. That's an assault. You are literally trying to destroy somebody's way of living.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a big difference from free speech and assaulting people. Assaults are threats. They're not like battery is physical. Assault is verbal or perceived threats. Oberlin University did both. They were assaulting a business that is well over 100 years old.
Man,
you know what? Can you imagine that? Look it up. It's on every article. It came out today, or you know, a lot of these came out. Well, it came out yesterday, but the news article. It's not a big news cycle, but you know, if you look it up on the internet, you'll see Oberlin College, you know, lost $11 million on a libel lawsuit, and the punitive damages are still yet to come. And they think punitive should be around about 33 million on top of the 11. And
let's see here.
Yeah, but that's a big thing, but it's the truth. These people honestly believe they have a right to this man's baked goods, just like they have a right to healthcare, they don't have a right to shit.
I know.
They don't have a right to shit, but they don't have a right to take your shit.
It's progressive attitude, you know, and these guys, and I hate that it's like these black kids that go in there and just take stuff and walk out. And it's like, I don't understand like why that it's such a when you said the whole thing, like black community destroyed because they lost Jesus, they actually just don't believe anymore.
But it's the truth. There is,
I remember telling you this story, but in I won't reveal too much, but in an altercation involving my organization and somebody else, right? We found out someone was actually stealing money, running transactions through his own account as opposed to the company's account to finalize stuff. That's all I'll leave it at. And the guy's black. Like, it's just like, dude, you literally caught red-handed stealing, like stealing from the company. Like,
see, but I'm telling you now.
I mean, I hate that it's like, that's the fact that he's black, but it's just like, come on, man. And I hate to say it too, but like as a salesperson, sometimes when I sell to certain people, it's just like when they have the whole attitude of like, I got money. I'm like, come on, man. Are you really serious about this? I'll take my time out, but you never buy.
You never close, man. You never close. But see, but it goes back to what I'm saying. That's why, like, think about this. When Oberlin opened up, it was a bunch of white dudes, because having a bakery in those days was not a solid business. They catered to a lot of blacks in the old days, even though it's a white. But when they first opened up, and that's why it's just ironic. And it goes back to what I said. Every time that blacks turn away from like Christian ideology, they always do bad. And think about like that guy in your coworker, whatever, from your organization. He was doing good, and then as soon as he turns, what happens?
I know. And that happened in another instance where a guy literally was falsifying his times on like a timesheet for hours worked, and I'm like, come on, man, like all this stuff is trackable. You should know better. At least be smart about it. But like, it's like, no,
but see, but that, I don't know. Like, I honestly believe blacks are punished more by God than anybody else, because they had the word first. And because they had the word first and it was given to them for whatever reasons, I think God's going to be harder on them. And I think that's why blacks, because it's the only thing that makes sense. It's like, how did blacks go from being so powerful to being nothing?
Oh, yeah.
And that even though they do well in sports and singing and entertainment, but it's still like as a group. And the only thing that makes logical sense to me is, they turn away from the word of God. I think there has to be a God just for that reason, because it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like, how does one lose all that money so quickly?
Yeah.
How do you lose it? Because they lost faith. Because if you look at the white Jewish people, they recovered from World War II quite nicely, quite quickly.
Sure.
And because they went back to the word of God. They built it on faith and that, but then blacks, geez Louise, if they turned their back on God. No, but it's the truth. Think about it. Blacks were on top of the world in the 1800s, early 1900s. And,
but for some, you know what the crazy thing is? The black people that are legitimately like good in their faith kept the stable family unit.
Yeah. And they do well.
They do so well.
Not just do so well, but they're on.
We're talking like they're. It's just you're basically Ben Carson's family.
Yeah, no, but think about this. Ben Carson is the top of his field.
Yeah. So
it's not because blacks lack intelligence.
Exactly. It's like he actually is the best neurosurgeon in the world.
Yeah.
Ben Carson's hands and his brain is like the best in the field.
No, but think about this too. Even the thing with Hidden Figures. That's a true story. The black woman with the math skills.
Yeah, for NASA, worked for NASA and all that.
But think about this. This lady was blessed with that type of, and it wasn't like something she learned in school. She got this from some sort of visions and all this other stuff, and she was able to figure it out.
Reading the word of God, man, it gives you clarity of thought.
Yeah, no, and that's how it works. And I'm telling you now, blacks turned away from God in 1913 when they started converting to progressive ideology. And then the Jews, World War II happened in the 40s. And they recovered it took them the Jews recovered took 30 years, I would say, for all the Jewish people to be somewhat successful. But blacks to this day have yet to recover from 1913, over 100 years. And the blacks are still, struggling because they don't have the word of God anymore. And that's not a coincidence. That has to be something behind it. You know what I mean? And then people, yeah, but you don't believe in God and you're successful. It's like, yeah, but you know what I mean? But then at the same time, I've never
that's not to say that atheists can't be successful. It's just, but collectively, right?
As a group. But I don't know. But then like I'm morally bankrupt and you know what I mean? Just, oh my God, it's hard to get support from people. You know what I mean? Like people only want me because I could do things for them. It's not like if I honestly was with somebody who was spiritually connected to Jesus, they wouldn't want anything from me. You know what I mean? I think, I don't know these things, but anyway, going back to the health benefits and stuff like that, the reason why I brought up Oberlin is because it's the thing. These people honestly believe health benefits is a right, food is a right, all of these things are right, but they're not. Think about this. Is driving your car a right or a privilege? And in theory, it should be your right because it's your right to work. But according to the government, it is a privilege. You don't have to drive. It's not like there's other ways you could walk, you could ride your bike, you could take public transportation. So if these people, driving is more important to me than healthcare, than seeing your doctor. Because the thing is like this, come on, when you're young, you don't need health benefits for what? You just don't need it. Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, I don't know. Do you know anything about MediShare? I was always curious about MediShare to see if that even works.
Not really. Haven't really dived into that. But I see what you're saying, it's just, but that's the thing that I think that progressivism has really twisted in our minds is thinking us into believe that healthcare is a right, when all you got to do is really think about what is human rights, what are rights that have been granted to you in the Constitution, and think about even just necessities. Do you have a right to shelter? Say you don't work. Say you broke, do you have a right to shelter? Do you have a right to education? I mean, yeah, you should go get an education, but you don't have a right to it, So I don't know. What are your final thoughts for this? Because I know people will start to drift.
Yeah. No, but that's basically it. Like this whole thing of granting illegal immigrants free health benefits just reeks of the devil's playground. I think I explained it pretty well.
Well said.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you for tuning into this edition of the American Made and Paid Show. That's the thing, right? Consider for a second, if you're living in a state like California that, is granting more benefits to people who are living there illegally than to its own citizens, there's definitely a question there. And I don't think any sensible person in their right mind can just kind of look at that and go, yeah, well, you know what? That's what we're all about. So chew on that this week, you guys. Hope you guys are having a good week. Wishing you guys a great rest of your week, and we will see you all soon.